New York Giants Week 6 preview. We go into Foxborough on Thursday night to play the Patriots. Well, tomorrow night, I should say. The Giants come in at 2-3. The Patriots still undefeated at 5-0. The Patriots are favored by 17 points in this game, which is crazy, but it does make sense due to the Giants' three best weapons on offense being out, so I get it from that standpoint. The Patriots have yet to play a really tough opponent this year, and this is once again a pretty easy matchup for New England. They are favored by over 2 touchdowns, so it hurts me to say it, but it is true. So let's get into the injury report right now and see what the Giants have going on for their injuries this week. So for the Giants' injuries, we know Evan Ingram's probably out for this game. Actually, he's definitely out. Wayne Gallman's definitely out. Sterling Shepard's out. Both have concussions. Saquon Barkley, it looked like he was going to play at one point. Like last week at this point, it seemed like he was going to play. But the Giants will play it safe and keep him out one more week, which is fine with me because I really don't feel like they'd win this game either way if they had him or if they didn't have him, so you might as well play it safe. Lorenzo Carter seems like a legit game-time decision with his neck injury. He missed last week's game, so who knows what's going to happen, but it seems like an actual game-time decision. Alec Ogletree and Tay Davis seem like they're going to come back. I believe they were practicing in full today, so hopefully they'll be back. And Josiah Tawafa and Nate Solder had a full practice as well, so they should be fine. Nate Solder's is a little concerning because he did have ankle surgery in the offseason, so hopefully that's not really bothering him too much. But, I understand he hasn't played the best football this year, but I also don't want to stick Nick Gates at left tackle in New England. That would not be good for us. So hopefully Solder's in there and he's feeling all right. But the Giants will be without a lot of their weapons in this game, which will be tough for Daniel Jones, but we'll get into that later. So now let's get into the Patriots injuries. So quickly for the Patriots, it only seems like Philip Dorsett, their big play wide receiver, is going to be out. It definitely helps. He does have a hamstring injury, so he's already been ruled out of this game. So not having to face him is great. It definitely takes a deep play threat off the field, but the Giants will have to face probably the rest of these guys on this list. Seeing Josh Gordon and Julian Edelman probably going to play in this game, does not help at all, but it is what it is. So at least we have one receiver out that we don't have to face, but for the most part, I believe Julian Edelman and Josh Gordon should be expected to go in this game. So the Patriots defense has been absolutely unbelievable throughout the first 5 weeks of the season, but we have to put in the context of who they played so far. So they faced Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. I mean, that's kind of impressive. They held them to 3 points on that Sunday night game. They faced the Miami Dolphins. They faced the Jets with Luke Falk. They faced the Buffalo Bills and the Washington Redskins. It was either Colt McCoy or Case Keenum. I feel like it was Colt McCoy last week, but I'm honestly not positive on that one. But they've allowed 0 passing touchdowns in the first 5 games. They're first in yards per game allowed at 238.4 total yards allowed. First in passing yards allowed at 160.4. Third in rushing yards allowed at 78. Honestly, having John Hilliman's really not going to do much, so I feel like there will not be a high rushing total for the Giants unless Daniel Jones rushes for like 80 yards in this game, but I don't see that happening. They are first in points per game allowed at 6.8, and the next closest is the Chicago Bears at 13.8, so that is a ridiculous stat right there, but once again, they've played some pretty easy people so far, so you got to take it with a grain of salt. Their cornerbacks have been absolutely unbelievable this year. We know that Stephon Gilmore is one of the best, but the guy across from him, Jason McCourty, has been ridiculous as well. I believe he's one of the PFF top graded players so far, so he's been ridiculous, and the Giants obviously do not have much talent at wide receiver this week, so it's going to be very tough to get guys open. For the offense, they are 11th in yards per game at 378.2, 6th in passing yards per game with 279.2, 21st in rushing yards with 99. So that's really the one thing they don't excel in so far is the rushing game. Sony Michel's had kind of an off year so far. We know James White's not really an in-between the tackles runner. Brandon Bolden's not really a legitimate running back. He's more of a special teamer who will catch an occasional touchdown here and there. So for the most part, Michel has not been great this year. Julian Edelman against Grant Haley is definitely a matchup to watch out for. And then, of course, Josh Gordon, who has yet to have a blow-up game. So, I hate to say he's due for one, but I feel like against the Giants, this would be a good matchup for Josh Gordon to get it going against Janoris Jenkins or DeAndre Baker. As I mentioned, Philip Dorsett is out in this game. They have not used their tight ends much this year. I think I saw they released Ben Watson, who was coming back from suspension, but they already released him. They have a couple tight ends that I've honestly never heard of. Someone named Izzo. I don't even have the depth chart in front of me, so I can't even name these guys, but it really doesn't matter. They really have not used them much in the passing game this year. But I do know that the Izzo guy had a touchdown last week. So, I mean, the Giants can't cover tight ends anyway, so we will see what happens with that. Their offensive line is top 10 in adjusted sack rate with 5.7%. I believe that means that only the offensive line has allowed a sack on 5% of dropbacks or something like that. I'm not completely sure, but I'm pretty sure that's what that stat means, but it is pretty good if they're top 10. James White versus linebackers, that could be an issue as well. If Alec Ogletree or Tay Davis or any of these guys, or Josiah Tawafa, Tuzar Skipper, if any of them have to cover James White in space, it could be an issue. We know the Giants could not cover Dalvin Cook in the receiving game last week, so hopefully we don't have that issue again, but we know Brady and James White have a great connection, so I'm sure the Giants will get torched by them, but hopefully it's not too bad. So on to the Giants notes. So the thing with defense is missed tackles. I mean, that was a huge issue last week against the Vikings. We saw with Antoine Bethea, Janoris Jenkins, DeAndre Baker, Jabril Peppers, a bunch of guys, David Mayo, Nate Stupar, all these guys missing tackles, taking terrible angles, and we just cannot have that against a team like the Patriots. The Patriots will exploit mismatches, whether it's James White on a linebacker, as I said, Grant Haley and Julian Edelman. I feel like that's the most obvious one, but they will exploit mismatches, so the Giants have to be prepared for that kind of stuff. Can they create pressure? So as I said before, the Patriots are top 10 in the adjusted sack rate, which is, good news for them. It is tough to create pressure for them, or on them. Their left tackle is actually Marshall Newhouse, a former Giant, and I think their left tackle, Isaiah Wynn, has hit IR once again. I feel bad for that kid. I feel like that's 2 years in a row now. He's been on IR for most of the season, so they do have Marshall Newhouse at left tackle, but due to Dante Scarnecchia and whatever they do in New England with their offensive linemen, they, for some reason, all just play fantastic football, so it really doesn't matter who's playing left tackle. In my opinion, they'll just excel anyway. The good version of Janoris Jenkins needs to show up in this game. I feel like if Janoris Jenkins can show up and at least shut down or at least try to limit Josh Gordon, that's definitely a big help for us. Antoine Bethea can't be taking bad angles and missing tackles in this game. This is not the game to do that in. He needs to play better. I'm not expecting much because the guy's 35 years old and has definitely looked his age so far this year. Jabril Peppers needs to play like he did in Washington. I understand Washington is not really close to New England, but still, he has to play near that level for the Giants defense to be successful in this game. Jabril Peppers was all right last week, but he wasn't perfect either. I noticed some things on the film that, he did miss some tackles, and there were some plays where he wasn't able to shed blocks easily and stuff like that, so he needs to get better and play like he did in Washington. So, offensively, there's no Saquon Barkley, no Evan Engram. I forgot to list Wayne Gallman. There's no Wayne Gallman, no Sterling Shepard, back-to-back concussions for him. That's not good news. Belichick will shut down their best weapon, whether it's Golden Tate, Darius Slayton. I feel like it will be Darius Slayton. I think he's going to have don't let this guy beat me deep type of philosophy. So I would not expect Darius Slayton to be running deep and open many times this game, but who knows? I mean, he has been very impressive, Darius Slayton, so you never know. They'll do their best to try and confuse Daniel Jones. I mean, we saw Bill Belichick do this in the Super Bowl, and I actually heard a story about doesn't even relate to the game, but I heard a story about Jared Goff that when teams started to figure out the Rams offense halfway through last year, the biggest thing was apparently when the coaches call the plays into the quarterback's helmet and he could hear Sean McVay and what play he's calling. What defenses were doing wrong is they were setting up their defense way too early in the play clock, and they were showing Sean McVay what they were doing on defense. But when defenses got smart and figured out how to figure out Jared Goff, they did not set up their defense yet. So they would set up their defense late, and obviously at that point the communication in the helmet turns off, and then when Jared Goff was on his own and didn't have Sean McVay making play calls, then they would show their defense, and it made it very tough for Jared Goff to read the defense without Sean McVay in his ear. So, I mean, Bill Belichick obviously in the Super Bowl took advantage of that, and whichever team figured that out, they are very smart, but I forget which one did it, so props to whoever did that. Belichick has an 18-5 record against rookie quarterbacks, and he's 11-0 at home. It would be very, very awesome if Daniel Jones can break that and give Bill Belichick his first home loss against a rookie quarterback with no weapons to his disposal. That would be very cool, but I'm not expecting it, obviously. The offensive line needs to play better like they did earlier in the season. I mean, they played well in Dallas. They played well against the Buffalo Bills, but they've kind of tailed off recently. I feel like last week was their worst showing of the season. The tackles were just terrible. Jalapeno was terrible. Kevin Zeitler had a couple of screw-ups. I mean, Will Hernandez has been the best one this year. year, honestly. He's been the most solid offensive lineman, so that's great in his second year, but everyone else needs to play better than what they did last week against a team like the Patriots. I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I didn't write down a final score, but I mean, you guys are going to hate me for this. I think the final score is going to be something like 31-10, 27-10, or 27-13, 31-13. I don't see a way the Giants score over 20 points in this game. I mean, if they had all their weapons, yes, I could see it happening, but like, this defense is so good. You guys have to realize, I mean, this is the best Patriots defense in like 15 years. So, I mean, this is a very, very good defense. And if Daniel Jones can just look somewhat good against them, that's a positive. He will make some mistakes in this game. It's going to happen. But as long as he doesn't make like a joke and an embarrassment out of himself tomorrow night, I'm fine with it. So whatever positives we can take away from that game, that's fine with me. Hopefully, the one thing I'm hoping for in this game is just stay healthy. We cannot afford more injuries. The Giants have an easier part of their schedule coming up after this game. They face the Cardinals next week, and they have 10 days of rest. So hopefully everyone stays healthy this game, and they can get better and just, have their guys for the second half of the season and try to make a run. But I don't expect them to win this game. It sucks to have that kind of attitude going into it. But look, if you truly expect them to win this game, I give you a lot of credit for your optimism, but I'm just a bit more realistic. So, I mean, it would be cool if they win this game, don't get me wrong, but I'm just not expecting it. So I think the Patriots will win by more than 17 from what the spread says. I just don't know how the Giants move the ball consistently. I know Daniel Jones has been impressive this year, but I think this Patriots defense is just too legit, and their cornerbacks are ridiculous, and Bill Belichick is very, very smart, so they'll have it figured out. So that'll do it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy. I hope you guys have enough time to watch this, because the game's in like less than 24 hours at this point, so I'm sorry I uploaded it late, but we all know Thursday Night Football sucks anyway. So hopefully this game is good. I hope we don't get blown out. I hope it's watchable. Of course, I'll watch the whole thing, but I hope it's not too bad. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll talk to you, I guess, tomorrow night, because I'll do a reaction to the game. So I guess I'll talk to you guys tomorrow night. Thank you for watching.